Wow, what an incredible, warm welcome from you all. And can I tell you that it is the honor of my life to be here as the new leader of the SNP. And you may have picked up, there's been a few challenges in the first 12 weeks. And through some of those difficult days, it is you, our incredible members, that have lifted me up. You have given me heart. You have given me energy. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all the support that you have given me, our party, and our cause. Friends, it is great to be here with you, of course, in the Yes City of Dundee. Famously, as you will know, it's the city of the three J's, Jute, Jam, and Joe Fitzpatrick, of course, as well. This is a city which, in many ways, represents the very best of Scotland. Rightly proud of its industrial heritage, but also constantly reinventing itself to stay at the cutting edge. And today, it's home of some of the key industries that will power Scotland's future. Today, as we gather to discuss that future, I cannot tell you how much of an honour it is to be addressing you as the new SNP leader. The SNP is a party that has often made history. And I stand here today as the first ever Muslim and first ever ethnic minority First Minister. It is proof, if ever we needed it, that we are truly the national party of Scotland. And that is something that each and every single one of us should be proud of. We've come a long way on Scotland's journey to independence. We certainly haven't travelled as fast as we'd like. We've had some difficult times, and of course, as I've already mentioned, the last few months haven't been easy. But down the years, the road towards independence has been paved by the determination, by the spirit of thousands who came before us. And nobody, but nobody, typifies that determination and that spirit more than Winnie Ewing. The political earthquake that Winnie caused with her victory, her sensational victory in Hamilton in 1967, still resonates to this very day. And over the decades, whether in Westminster or in Brussels, or just as we saw in that clip, reconvening the Scottish Parliament, Winnie helped shape the modern nation that we are today. She had an unshakable belief in the potential of the Scottish people, and she never stopped trying to inspire confidence and ambition in those around her. And it is no exaggeration, none whatsoever, to say that we would not be here today were it not for Winnie. With her passing this week, we mourn someone who was both a patriot and a pioneer. To Madam Akos, from the bottom of our hearts, we say thank you for everything. Friends, the success of the SNP in winning elections over the years has allowed us to make a real difference for the people of Scotland. And what a difference we have made. An estimated 90,000 children in Scotland being lifted out of poverty by our actions. Record levels of foreign investment in our economy. Unemployment at near record low levels. That's the difference that the SNP makes. The best paid nurses in the whole of the UK, a global leader in climate justice, an education system based on the ability to learn, not on the ability to pay. That's the difference that the SNP makes. Friends, the SNP is building a fairer, more prosperous, and a more confident Scotland. And that's the difference that the SNP makes. Today, we are talking about how we build on those successes. We know that the most transformational step Scotland can take towards building a better future is to become an independent nation. And we are within touching distance of achieving our goal. Independence is within reach. And today I'm going to set out how I believe we can break the logjam with Westminster by mobilising the power of the people at the next general election. Because, friends, make no mistake about it, the SNP will absolutely fight the next general election with independence front and centre of our campaign. Be in no doubt. And that's because choosing between Tories or Tory light, well, that's no real choice at all. The real alternative to Westminster control is taking our future into our own hands as an independent nation. We all know that Scotland faces challenges. We know we live in an uncertain world. But as Scotland's national party, it is our duty in these tough times to give people some hope and imagine a better future with the endless opportunities that independence gives us. We must inspire people and make it abundantly clear Westminster is not as good as it gets. We can do better than the failed Westminster economic model that is causing such misery. Friends, if only one message leaves this conference hall today, let it be this. With our vast natural resources, our economic strength, with our world-class universities, and, of course, with the talent of all of our people, an independent Scotland can and will be one of the most successful nations in the entire world. No one, absolutely no one, will take better decisions for Scotland than you, the people who live here. After all, it's the people who live here who have the biggest stake in Scotland's future. No one can better steward our resources. No one can better nurture our talent. The evidence of why independence works is quite literally all around us. All we have to do is look to our European neighbours, and we get a glimpse of what Scotland's future can be. Whether we're talking about Norway, whether we're talking about Ireland, whether we're talking about... That's okay. That's okay, folks. Folks, let's not boo. I'll tell you what, folks. Let's not boo. I'm going to take a minute to talk to that person, everybody, because we are a party that listens to people.
Minutes pause. If we can just have a couple of minutes pause, everyone, and we will be back to the stage shortly.
Friends, we enjoy the success we do, and let us never, ever forget this. We enjoy the success we do because we care for each and every single person in Scotland. And we might not always get it right. Heck, I know I've not always got it right in government myself. But we'll never stop listening to people. We'll not shout them down. We'll not boo them. We will always listen to them. Now, where was I? Right. I was saying, folks, that the evidence for why independence works is quite literally all around us. All we have to do is look to our European neighbours and we get a glimpse of what Scotland's future can be. Whether we're talking about Norway, Ireland, Denmark, Sweden, Austria, Finland, they're comparable to Scotland and they're outperforming the UK in many ways. They're wealthier. They have fewer people living in poverty. They have higher levels of investment. They're more productive. That means they have more money to fund public services, like their schools and like their hospitals. And when times are tough, like when the cost of living started to bite, they had broader shoulders to weather the storm. And friends, you know what else? Every single one of these countries is an independent nation. Each country had their own path to success, but in every case, success is exactly what independence has led to. The question we, in Scotland, must ask ourselves is not why are our neighbours more successful than us? The question we must ask is why not Scotland? With our abundant energy resources, some of the best universities in the world, with our hugely successful financial services, with our cutting-edge life sciences, with our world-renowned food and drink sector, with a gallus, intelligent, good-humoured, hard-working population, why not Scotland? Friends, independence works. And there is absolutely no doubt that independence can and will work for Scotland. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. Emulating the success of our neighbours will not happen automatically. But the whole point of independence is to make transformational change by taking power into our own hands. And the SNP is setting out a clear vision for how we would change things for the better. And what you get with independence is this. You get the powers to build an economy that puts the health and the happiness of its citizens at its heart. Not an economy based on failed trickle-down economics, taking us in a downward spiral. With independence, you get the powers to tackle the cost of living crisis, not being forced to suffer the biggest fall in living standards since records began. You get the powers to build a welfare system that protects you, not one that punishes you. You get to be inside the European Union, the world's biggest single market, not dragged out of Europe against your will. You get an energy policy that works for Scotland's people and works for the planet, not an energy market designed to work for Westminster and corporate shareholders. And friends, what do you get with independence? You get a written constitution that guarantees we are a country Hey, I've not even got to the good bit. We get a constitution, a written constitution, that guarantees that we are a country which enshrines and protects the rights of every single citizen, not a country where populist politicians strip people of their fundamental rights, particularly from our most marginalised communities. You get a constitutional right that protects the NHS at the point of use. Not what we see at the moment, creeping privatisation from the UK government, from the Tories and with Labour. With independence and a written constitution, we get a country which opens its heart and offers sanctuary to those who flee conflict. Not one that bundles them on a plane to Rwanda. And friends, with that written constitution, we get a country that bans nuclear weapons from our soil for good. Not a country that wastes tens of billions of pounds on the obscenity of weapons of mass destruction. Friends, independence is about having and using the powers to build a better country. A better Scotland is possible. And over the coming months, we will continue laying out our prospectus for building a new Scotland. And I'll tell you what else we'll be doing. We'll be defending our national parliament from being constantly undermined, overruled, sabotaged by an increasingly erratic Westminster government. Just think about the events of the last few weeks. We are now at the point where our Scottish Parliament can no longer even do something as simple as include glass in a recycling scheme without Westminster muscling in at the 11th hour and sabotaging it. And while we promote Scotland as a place to invest and do business in capital cities right around the world, Westminster tries to stop us because they claim that we're stepping above our station. Last week, I got a list of our supposed transgressions from the UK government. I have to tell you, friends, no, I have to be serious now, it's a really serious point. I have to tell you, my friends, I was shocked when I found out what SNP ministers had been up to. Ivan McKee was in Poland on a trade mission. He was apparently overheard saying that Brexit was a mistake. Perish the thought, my friends. Angus Robertson was promoting Scottish culture at a St Andrew's Day reception. And he dared to say that leaving the EU had negatively impacted on student exchange programmes to Scotland. An absolute shocker, ladies and gentlemen. You see, for the Tories, bringing jobs and investment to Scotland is apparently a transgression. For the SNP, bringing jobs and investment into Scotland is our national mission. I think there's maybe something else going on here. I think the Tories, they see that the SNP has made friends for Scotland right across the world. They see our success in attracting trade and investment, and they're just that wee bit jealous, and they can't even hide it. But the future of our national parliament is under threat due to Westminster control. And it is proof that it's only through the powers of independence that we will be able to take on the biggest challenges of our age and build a better future. Friends, this Tory government, it is morally and politically bankrupt. But I just don't want rid of them for a few years. I want Scotland to be independent so we can get rid of unelected Tory governments for good. especially if the alternative is merely a pale imitation. We don't need a Labour leader who says he doesn't care if he sounds Conservative. We don't need a Labour leader who somehow seems to break promises faster than he makes them. You know, it's funny, with each broken promise that Keir Starmer says that it's just not possible, he says, in the current climate to do what he promised. He says it's not possible to have free higher education, and that publicly owned rail and water can't be done. Well, I've got a wee message for Keir Starmer. Not only is it possible, the SNP is doing it right here in Scotland. And I'll tell you why it's possible. It's because the SNP stand by what we believe in. And that is the difference the SNP makes. And many years ago, President Kennedy very famously said that the question in politics is not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. The thing about Keir Starmer is that when he comes north of the border, he doesn't ask what he can do for Scotland. He's only interested in what Scotland can do for Keir Starmer. Friends, history teaches us that when democracy movements, like ours, reach a certain size, in the end, they always triumph. And that's why we're gathered here today, about how we can ensure independence becomes the settled will of the Scottish people. And I have no doubt at this convention, we will have a lively and passionate discussion. I think it may have already started. And after all, this is the cause. This is the cause that we all care deeply about. But I'm very clear. There's no route to independence other than through a lawful democratic process. Why? Because that is the way we actually become independent. That's the way that not only do we recognize Scotland wants to become independent, but it's the way Europe and the world recognizes it too. So that means we have two essential tasks before us. Firstly, we must continue building support for independence. We've done so much, and we need to keep going. You know, there was a time, not all that long ago, when we were ecstatic, we were over the moon, we were cock-a-hoop, when support for independence reached 30%. Now support for our cause is at least 50-50. But secondly, we must give the people of Scotland the opportunity to express that support in a democratic vote. To build support, campaigning for independence must and will be at the heart of everything we do as a party. That's why SNP activists, that's why you will be engaged in a summer campaign on the opportunities of independence, taking our message to homes the length and breadth of Scotland. I'm out every week speaking to people. I've been hugely inspired to meet SNP activists across the country. Our task, our collective task, is to get Scotland talking about independence, talking about the possibilities, the opportunities, to show people that there is a better alternative. Over the summer, SNP members will also continue the discussion that we are beginning today. There'll be a series of regional assemblies, and as the summer ends, we will come together again. But this time, not in a conference hall. This time we will join the thousands of independent activists in our nation's capital. On the 2nd of September, our friends, I believe in Scotland, will fill the streets of Edinburgh with a march and rally for an independent Scotland in the EU. And I'm delighted to confirm that the SNP will get fully behind this grassroots initiative. I will certainly be there, and today I'm calling on every single independent supporter to come together to show our opponents that the cause of independence is truly the people's movement. Because the people of Scotland have always marched and rallied for democracy. And on the 2nd of September, we must do so again. So friends, let's make this rally the biggest our cause has ever seen. The SNP believes that democracy is something to be cherished, not something to be feared. Westminster are clearly running scared, but there's one vote that they cannot hide from whenever it comes, and that is the next Westminster election. That election offers us the opportunity to break the logjam. Of course, we will set out how we will stand up for Scotland's interest and how we'll mitigate the damage of Westminster control, as we always do. But friends, I didn't get into politics to simply mitigate Westminster damage. I believe that the SNP should do much more than that. I believe that in this election, the SNP should offer the people of Scotland a manifesto for an independent Scotland. A manifesto bursting with ideas about how Scotland can harness our potential through the powers of independence. And friends, in that manifesto, page 1, line 1, I am proposing that we put a simple but powerful statement to the people. Vote SNP for Scotland to become an independent country. Even my 4-year-old got off her seat for that one. Friends, we know how hard it is to win elections. The polls are tight. There's everything to play for. The Westminster establishment will rail against us. But we know that independence is best for Scotland's future. So we must give the people of Scotland the ability to choose that future. And let me be clear. If the SNP does win this election, then the people will have spoken. We will seek negotiations with the UK government on how we give democratic effect to Scotland becoming an independent nation. Remember, we are not the bloc on a referendum. A referendum has been our plan A. Westminster are the ones who are blocking it. So whether that democratic effect is a referendum or simply the general election, that is for them to answer. They told Scotland, this is a voluntary union. Prove it. But friends, we're not going to wait for Westminster. If we win the general election, we will take that mandate from the people and ensure that we, as a government, are ready to negotiate our independence. We will take the following actions. Firstly, we will set out a detailed document documenting the terms we would seek in discussion with the UK government for Scotland becoming an independent country. It will be called Withdrawal from Westminster, a new partnership agreement. This new partnership agreement between Scotland and our friends in the rest of the UK would include draft legal text on the transfer of powers from Westminster to the Scottish Parliament necessary to prepare for independence. It would set out the Scottish Government's position on issues such as the division of assets. It would detail future arrangements for continuing, indeed bettering, the cooperation with the rest of the UK. In place of the assertive Westminster knows best, know your place doctrine, we can have a better relationship, one based on equal partnership and based on mutual respect. Secondly, we will conduct a nationwide, open and inclusive consultation on a draft interim constitution, the founding document of our newly independent state. And the process will include some fundamental principles and aims to protect citizens' rights that are being eroded by Westminster, like the right of workers to strike, to give constitutional protection for our NHS free at the point of use, to confer a duty on the government of an independent Scotland to pursue nuclear disarmament. And friends, the first line of that interim constitution will say the following: Scotland is an independent country in which the people are sovereign. Friends, with independence, we will transfer sovereignty from Westminster to the people of Scotland. And thirdly, if we win the general election, we will prepare the ground for Scotland becoming an independent member state of the European Union. We will do that by establishing an envoy position, a representative of the Scottish Government in Brussels. This position will be focused on explaining the Scottish Government's policy on independence to our fellow Europeans. We will reinforce to our European partners our commitment to a legal, constitutional, democratic process. But we will also seek to enhance understanding that Scotland is an ancient nation committed to the founding values of the European Union. A country, of course, with much to gain from EU membership, but also much to offer as we navigate the challenges of the 21st century. So friends, with these three actions, we're not going to wait for Westminster to respond. We are going to take our destiny into our own hands. We will begin laying the foundations of a newly independent nation. It's a vote to deliver the powers of a country which can build a better economy, stronger public services, a fairer, greener society, and a Scotland free from the abomination of weapons of mass destruction. Friends, there's a lot to talk about today, and we must consider what else we can do, what we can continue to do to build support for independence. What we are discussing today, what we discuss over the summer in our regional assemblies and in our branches, and ultimately what we agree at our national conference in October, will be the springboard that delivers independence for Scotland. Friends, Winnie Ewing's passing has, for all of us, brought to the fore many memories and indeed emotions over the last couple of days. As well as the sense of loss, I've been thinking of many people over the years who fought their whole lives for an independent Scotland, but sadly haven't lived to see the day. People like Winnie, people like George Leslie, people like my mentor and friend, the late and great Bashir Ahmed. But friends, let me tell you this. When we are so close to achieving our goal, we must take strength from them and their legacy to push on until we win. For our families, for our friends, for our communities, for our country. That's who we are doing this for. And for our children, our future generations, those yet to be born, who will live in an independent Scotland and decide how they want it to be run. In the final days of the 2014 referendum campaign, when he gave what I think was her last filmed interview, she spoke of her pride at being able to cast her vote for an independent Scotland. And she said this: "I've waited all my life for a meaningful vote. I'm old enough to appreciate having grandchildren, so I'm in a position to realise that it's vital for them to grow up in a fair society where their aspirations are listened to and when they're afforded the chances they need." Madam Acost, thank you for absolutely nailing it. Because I think about independence. And when I think about independence, I see my two girls, Maya and Amal, who are in the front row. I won't lie, it's hard for this dad to think of his girls one day leaving our home and making a life for themselves. I'll be a greeting mess, trust me, when it happens. But as parents, that's all we want. We want our children to be happy. We want our children to be healthy. We want them to make decisions over their own lives, to make decisions as strong, independent people. And that's what I want for my country too. We don't just have to imagine a better country. We can build it. We can build that better country by becoming independent. Friends, I want you to think, just think for a moment about that moment that Scotland's independence is declared. I want you to think of all the pavements you've pounded, the doors you've champed, the leaflets you've delivered. Capture how you will feel at that very moment. When you hear the results filtering through the news channels, that it has been confirmed that the people of Scotland have voted to become independent. Now let that feeling motivate you. Let it be the driving force that propels us to campaign harder than we ever have before. The SNP has a positive vision for an independent Scotland. And when we leave here today, we will do so united in making that vision a reality. As we return to our homes, to the cities, to the towns, to the villages, to the highlands, to the lowlands, to the islands, to every community, to every street, and to every home, the SNP will take that case for a better nation to the people. We will show them the nation we can be, and friends, together we will lead Scotland to independence. Thank you very much.